All the World's a Stage, from As You Like It by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Mark Leader. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. Then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish treble pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Autumn by Emily Dickenson. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sher. The morns are meeker than they were. The nuts are getting brown. The berry's cheek is plumper. The rose is out of town. The maple wears a gayer scarf, the field a scarlet gown. Lest I should be old-fashioned, I'll put a trinket on. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Ballad of East and West by Rudyard Kipling. Read for LibriVox.org by Jonathan Jones. O east is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet, till earth and sky stand presently at God's great judgment seat. But there is neither east nor west, border nor breed nor birth, when 2 strong men stand face to face, though they come from the ends of the earth. Kamal is out with 20 men to raise the border side, and he has lifted the colonel's mare that is the colonel's pride. He has lifted her out of the stable door between the dawn and day, and turned the colkins upon her feet, and ridden her far away. Then up and spoke the colonel's son, that led a troop of the guides. Is there never a man of all my men can say where Kamal hides? Then up and spoke Mohammed Khan, son of the Rezaldar. If ye know the track of the morning mist, ye know where his pickets are. At dusk he harries the Abazai, at dawn he is into Bonaire, but he must go by Fort Buccleuch to his own place to fare. So if you gallop to Fort Buccleuch, as fast as a bird can fly, by the favour of God you may cut him off ere he win to the tongue of Jagai. But if he be past the tongue of Jagai, right swiftly turn ye then, for the length and breadth of that grisly plain is sown with Kamal's men. There is rock to the left, and rock to the right, and low lean thorn between. and ye may hear a breech-bolt snick when never a man is seen. The colonel's son has taken horse, the raw rough done was he, with the mouth of a bell and the heart of hell and the head of a gallows tree. The colonel's son to the fort has won, they bid him stay to eat, who rides at the tail of a border thief, he sits not long at his meat. He's up and away from Fort Buccleuch as fast as he can fly, till he was aware of his father's mare in the gut of the tongue of Jagai, till he was aware of his father's mare with Kamal upon her back, and when he could spy the white of her eye, he made the pistol crack. He fired once, he has fired twice, but the bristling ball went wide. "You shoot like a soldier," Kamal said. "Show now if you can ride." He's up and over the tongue of Jagai, as blown dust devils go. The dun he fled like a stag of 10, but the mare like a barren doe. The dun he leaned against the bit, and slugged his head above, but the red mare played with the snaffle bars, as a maiden plays with a glove. There was rock to the left, and rock to the right, and low lean thorn between, and thrice he heard a breech-bolt snick, though never a man was seen. They have ridden the low moon out of the sky, their hooves drum up the dawn. The dun he went like a wounded bull, but the mare like a new roused fawn. The dun he fell at a watercourse, in a woeful heap fell he, and Kamal has turned the red mare back, and pulled the rider free. He has knocked the pistol out of his hand, small room was there to strive. "'Twas only by favour of mine," quoth he, "ye rode so long alive. There was not a rock for 20 mile, there was not a clump of tree, that covered a man of my own men with his rifle cocked on his knee. If I had raised my bridle hand, as I have held it low, the little jackals that flee so fast were feasting all in a row. If I had bowed my head on my breast, as I have held it high, the kite that whistles above us now were gorged till she could not fly." Lightly answered the colonel's son, "Do good to bird and beast, but count who come for the broken meats before thou makest a feast. If there should follow 1,000 swords to carry my bones away, belike the price of a jackal's meal were more than a thief could pay. They will feed their horse on the standing crop, their men on the garnered grain. The thatch of the bars will serve their fires when all the cattle are slain. But if thou thinkest the price be fair, thy brethren wait to sup. The hound is kin to the jackal's spawn, howl dog and call them up. And if thou thinkest the price be high in steer and gear and stack, give me my father's mare again, and I'll fight my own way back." Kamal has gripped him by the hand and set him upon his feet. "No talk of dogs," said he, "when wolf and grey wolf meet. May I eat dirt if thou hast hurt of me in deed or breath. What dam of lances brought thee forth to jest at the dawn with death?" Lightly answered the colonel's son, "I hold by the blood of my clan. Take up the mare for my father's gift, by God, she has carried a man." The red mare ran to the colonel's son and nestled against his breast. "We be 2 strong men," said Kamal then, "but she loveth the younger best. So she shall go with the lifter's dar, a turquoise-studded rein, my broidered saddle and saddle-cloth, and silver stirrup twain." The colonel's son a pistol drew, and held it muzzle-end. "You have taken the one from a foe," said he. "Will you take the mate from a friend?" "A gift for a gift," said Kamal straight, "a limb for the risk of a limb. Thy father has sent his son to me, I'll send my son to him." and without he whistled his only son, that dropped from a mountain crest. He trod the ling like a buck in spring, and he looked like a lance in rest. Now here is thy master, Kamal said, who leads a trooper that guides, and thou must ride at his left side as shield on shoulder rides, till death, or I cut loose the tie at camp and board and bed. Thy life is his, thy fate it is to guard him with thy head. So thou must eat the White Queen's meat, and all her foes are thine, and thou must harry thy father's hold for the peace of the border line, and thou must make a trooper tough and hack thy way to power. Belike they will raise thee till Resuldar, when I am hanged in Peshawar. They have looked each other between the eyes, and there they found no fault. They have taken the oath of the brother in blood on the leavened bread and salt. They have taken the oath of the brother in blood on fire in fresh-cut sod, on the hilt and haft of the Khyber knife, and the wondrous names of God. The colonel's son, he rides the mare, and Kamal's boy the dun, and two have come back to Fort Buccleuch, where they went forth but one. And when they drew to the quarter guard, full 20 swords flew clear. There was not a man but carried his feud to the blood of the mountaineer. Hard done, said the colonel's son, but have the steel at your sides. Last night ye had struck at a border thief. Tonight 'tis a man of the guides. Oh, east is east, and west is west, and never the twain shall meet, till earth and sky stand presently at God's great judgment seat. But there is neither east nor west, border nor breed nor birth, when two strong men stand face to face, though they come from the ends of the earth. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Darkness by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I had a dream which was not all a dream. The bright sun was extinguished, and the stars did wander darkly in the eternal space, rayless and pathless, and the icy earth swung blind and blackening in the moonless air. Morn came and went, and came and brought no day, and men forgot their passions in the dread of this their desolation, and all hearts were chilled into a selfish prayer for light. And they did live by watchfires, and the thrones, the palaces of crowned kings, the huts, the habitations of all things which dwell, were burnt for beacons. Cities were consumed, and men were gathered round their blazing homes to look once more into each other's face. Happy were those who dwelt within the eye of the volcanoes and their mountain torch. A fearful hope was all the world contained. Forests were set on fire, but hour by hour they fell and faded, and the crackling trunks extinguished with a crash, and all was black. The brows of men by the despairing light wore an unearthly aspect, as by fits the flashes fell upon them. Some lay down and hid their eyes and wept, and some did rest their chins upon their clenched hands and smiled, and others hurried to and fro, and fed their funeral piles with fuel, and looked up with mad disquietude on the dull sky, the pall of a past world, and then again with curses cast them down upon the dust, and gnashed their teeth and howled. The wild birds shrieked, and terrified did flutter on the ground, and flap their useless wings. The wildest brutes came tame and tremulous, and vipers crawled and twined themselves among the multitude, hissing but stingless. They were slain for food. And war, which for a moment was no more, did glut himself again. A meal was bought with blood, and each sate sullenly apart, gorging himself in gloom. No love was left. All earth was but one thought, and that was death, immediate and inglorious. And the pang of famine fed upon all entrails. Men died, and their bones were tombless as their flesh. The meagre by the meagre were devoured. Even dogs assailed their masters, all save one. And he was faithful to a course, and kept the birds and beasts and famished men at bay, till hunger clung them, or the dropping dead lured their lank jaws. Himself sought out no food, but with a piteous and perpetual moan, and a quick, desolate cry, licking the hand which answered not with a caress, he died. The crowd was famished by degrees, but two of an enormous city did survive, and they were enemies. They met beside the dying embers of an altar place, where had been heaped a mass of holy things for an unholy usage. They raked up, and shivering scraped with their cold skeleton hands the feeble ashes, and their feeble breath blew for a little life, and made a flame which was a mockery. Then they lifted up their eyes as it grew lighter, and beheld each other's aspects, saw, and shrieked, and died. Even of their mutual hideousness they died, unknowing who he was upon whose brow famine had written fiend. The world was void, the populous and the powerful was a lump, seasonless, herbless, treeless, manless, lifeless, a lump of death, a chaos of dark clay. The rivers, lakes, and ocean all stood still, and nothing stirred within their silent depths. Ships sailorless lay rotting on the sea, and their masts fell down piecemeal. As they dropped, they slept on the abyss without a surge. The waves were dead. The tides were in their grave. The moon, their mistress, had expired before. The winds were withered in the stagnant air, and the clouds perished. Darkness had no need of aid from them. She was the universe. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dead Soldier by Johann Gabriel Seidel. Translated by Henry D. Wireman. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. On a distant field a soldier lies bleeding where he fell, unseen and I forgotten, although he fought so well. Generals bedecked with honours ride by where he doth rest. None think of his deserving to wear them on his breast. For many of the fallen here bitter tears are shed, but of this poor dead soldier e'en not a word is said. At home a father sitteth, west glows the evening red, and, filled with strange forebodings, exclaims, "My boy is dead!" There sits a mother weeping, who moans, "Help thou in heaven, I saw his apparition, the clock stopped at 11. A maiden pale at twilight from reverie doth start, "Though far away and dying, he lives within my heart." 3 pairs of eyes now offer, with warmth of hearts that love, for one who fought so bravely, their tears to heaven above. And heaven these tears doth gather up in a cloud, which flies to where the poor dead soldier on the field of battle lies. As dew, these tears it poureth upon his brow, that lie he might unwept for never, where he unknown did die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dearest, Do Not You Delay Me by John Fletcher. Read for LibriVox.org by Lore. Dearest, do not you delay me, since thou knowest I must be gone. Wind and tide, 'tis thought, doth stay me, but 'tis wind that must be blown from that breath whose native smell Indian odors far excel. O then speak, thou fairest fair, kill not him that vows to serve thee, but perfume this neighboring air, else dull silence sure will stir me. 'Tis a word that's quickly spoken, which being restrained, a heart is broken. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
December by Helen Hunt Jackson. Read for LibriVox.org by Paula Messina. The lakes of ice gleam bluer than the lakes of water 'neath the summer sunshine gleamed. Far fairer than when placidly it streamed, the brook its frozen architecture makes, and under bridges white its swift way takes. Snow comes and goes as messenger who dreamed might linger on the road, or one who deemed his message hostile gently for their sakes, who listened might reveal it by degrees. We gird against the cold of winter wind our loins now with mighty bands of sleep. In longest, darkest nights take rest and ease, and every shortening day, as shadows creep o'er the brief noontide, fresh surprises find. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Ghost by Fanny Wheeler Hart. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Love, will you let me in? I am knocking at the door. Love, can I shelter win close beside you, as of yore? Of my grave I am aweary, narrow, narrow, dark and dreary. Wildly from its clasp I flew, love, just to look at you. I am so white and chill. Love, will you shrink away? If you will not kiss me still, do not let me in, I pray. I have crossed the mighty river. Will you fear me? Do you shiver? If your arms refuse to woo, death is more kind than you. Love, if you were a ghost, and I were alive and warm, perhaps, I will not boast, I might shudder at your form. I might flee before the presence of an unembodied essence. Hush, hush, it is not true. Love, I should know 'twas you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. Read for LibriVox.org by Caveat. The wind was a torrent of darkness upon the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight, looping the purple moor. And the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French cocked hat on his forehead and a bunch of lace at his chin. He'd a coat of the claret velvet and breeches of fine doeskin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to his thigh, and he rode with a jewelled twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, under the jewelled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered and clashed in the dark inn yard. He tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love-knot into her long black hair. Dark in the dark old inn-yard a stable wicket creaked, where Tim the ostler listened, His face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollows of madness, his hair like mouldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robber say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight, but I shall be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet, if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." He stood upright in the stirrups, he scarce could reach her hand, but she loosened her hair in the casement, his face burnt like a brand, as the sweet black waves of perfume came tumbling o'er his breast. Then he kissed its waves in the moonlight, oh sweet black waves in the moonlight, and he tugged at his reins in the moonlight, and galloped away to the west. He did not come in the dawning, he did not come at noon, and out of the tawny sunset, before the rise of the moon, when the road was a gypsy's ribbon over the purple moor, the redcoat troops came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale instead, but they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of her narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her casement with muskets by their side. There was death at every window, and hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through her casement the road that he would ride. They had bound her up at attention with many a sniggering jest. They had tied a rifle beside her, with a barrel beneath her breast. "Now keep good watch," and they kissed her. She heard the dead man say, "Look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it. The trigger, at least, was hers. The tip of one finger touched it. She strove no more for the rest. Up she stood at attention, with a barrel beneath her breast. She would not risk their hearing, she would not strive again, for the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood in her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her love's refrain. Plot, 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 had they heard it? The horse hoofs ringing clear. Plot, 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 in the distance. Were they deaf that they did not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats looked to their priming. She stood up straight and still. Plot, plot, in the frosty silence. Plot, plot, in the echoing night. Nearer he came, and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew white for a moment. She drew one last deep breath. Then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned, he spurred to the west. He did not know who stood, bowed with her head o'er the casement, drenched in her own red blood. Not till dawn did he hear it, and his face grew grey to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, had watched for her love in the moonlight, and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him, and his rapier brandished high. Blood-red were his spurs in the golden noon, wine-red was his velvet coat, when they shot him down in the highway, down like a dog in the highway, and he lay in his blood in the highway, with a bunch of lace at his throat. And still on a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a gypsy's ribbon looping the purple moor, the highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. The highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters and clangs in the dark inn yard. He taps with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Highwayman's Ghost by Richard Garnett. Read for LibriVox.org by Jake Warrod. 12 o'clock. A misty night, glimpsing hints of buried light. 6 years strung in an iron chain. Time I stood on the ground again. So, by your leave, slip easy enough, withered wrists from the rusty cuff. The old chain rattles, the old wood groans. Oh, the clatter of clacking bones. Here I am, uncoated, unhatted, shirt all mildewed, hair all matted, sockets that each have royally fed the crow a precious eye. Oh, for slashing Bess the brown, where, O lass, have they earthed thee down? Sobst beneath the carrier's thong, strain'st the coalman's cart along. Shame to foot it. Must be so. See, the mists are smitten below. Over the moorland, wide away, moonshine pours her watery day. There, the long white dusted track, there, a crawling speck of black. The northern mail, ha! And he, there on the box, is Anthony. Coachman, I scared him from brown or grey, witness, he lied my blood away. Haste, Fred, haste, boy, never fail, now or never, catch the mail. The horses plunge, and sweating stop. Dead falls Tony, neck and crop. Nay, good God, small profit thus, shooting ghosts with a blunderbuss. Crash wheel, coach over, how it rains, hampers ladies' wigs and canes. Oh, the spoil, to sack it and lock it. But, woe is me, I've never a pocket. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Hive at Gettysburg by John Greenleaf Whittier. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. In the old Hebrew myth, the lion's frame, so terrible alive, bleached by the desert sun and wind, became the wandering wild bee's hive. And he who lone and naked-handed tore those jaws of death apart, in aftertime drew forth their honeyed store to strengthen his strong heart. Dead seemed the legend, but it only slept to wake beneath our sky, just on the spot whence ravening treason crept back to its lair to die. Bleeding and torn from freedom's mountain bounds, a stained and shattered drum is now the hive where, on their flowery rounds, the wild bees go and come. Unchallenged by a ghostly sentinel, they wander wide and far, along green hillsides sown with shot and shell, through vales once choked with war. The low reveille of their battle drum disturbs no morning prayer. With deeper peace in summer noons, their hum fills all the drowsy air. And Samson's riddle is our own today, of sweetness from the strong, of union, peace, and freedom plucked away from the rent jaws of wrong. From treason's death we draw a purer life, as from the beast he slew, a sweetness sweeter for his bitter strife the old-time athlete drew. 1868. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ichabod by John Greenleaf Whittier. read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sher. So fallen, so lost, the light withdrawn which once he wore, the glory from his grey hairs gone for evermore. Revile him not, the tempter hath a snare for all, and pitying tears, not scorn and wrath befit his fall. O dumb be passion's stormy rage, when he who might have lighted up and led his age falls back in night. Scorn with the angels' laugh to mark a bright soul-driven fiend-goaded down the endless dark from hope and heaven. Let not the land once proud of him insult him now, nor brand him with deeper shame his dim dishonoured brow. But let its humbled sons instead from sea to lake a long lament, as for the dead, in sadness make. Of all we loved and honoured, naught save power remains, a fallen angel's pride of thought still strong in chains. All else is gone. From those great eyes the soul has fled. When faith is lost, when honour dies, the man is dead. Then pay the reverence of old days to his dead fame. Walk backward with averted gaze, and hide the shame. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I meant to do my work today by Richard Le Gallienne. Read for LibriVox.org by Claudia Caldi. I meant to do my work today, but a brown bird sang in the apple tree, and a butterfly flitted across the field, and all the leaves were calling me. And the wind went sighing over the land, tossing the grasses to and fro, and the rainbow held out its shining hand. So what could I do but laugh and go? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Indian Summer by Isabel Ecclestone Mackay. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. I have strayed from silent places where the days are dreaming always, and fair summer lies a-dying. Roses withered on her breast, I have stolen all her beauty, all her softness, all her sweetness. In her robe of folden sunshine I am dressed. I will breathe a mist about me, lest you see my face too clearly, lest you follow me too boldly. I will silence every song. Through the haze and through the silence you will know that I am passing. When you break the spell that holds you, I am gone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. In October by Archibald Lampman. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Along the waste, a great way off, the pines like tall slim priests of storm stand up and bar the low long strip of dolorous red that lines the under west where wet winds moan afar. The cornfields all are brown, and brown the meadows with the blown leaves, wind-heaped traceries, and the brown thistle stems that cast no shadows and bear no bloom for bees. As slowly earthward leaf by red leaf slips, the sad trees rustle in chill misery. A soft strange inner sound of pain-crazed lips that move and murmur incoherently, as if all leaves that yet have breath were sighing, with pale hushed throats, for death is at the door. So many low soft masses for the dying sweet leaves that live no more. Here I will sit upon this naked stone, draw my coat closer with my numbed hands, and hear the fern sigh and the wet woods moan, and send my heart out to the ashen lands. And I will ask myself what golden madness, What balmed breaths of dreamland spicery, what visions of soft laughter and light sadness were sweet last month to me. The dry dead leaves flit by with thin weird tunes, like failing murmurs of some conquered creed, graven in mystic markings with strange runes, that none but stars and biting winds may read. Here I will wait a little, I am weary, not torn with pain of any lurid hue, but only still and very gray and dreary, sweet sombre lands like you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Little Rose is Dust, My Dear, by Grace Hazard Conkling. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. The little rose is dust, my dear, the elfin wind is gone, that sang a song of silver words, and cooled our hearts with dawn. And what is left to hope, my dear, or what is left to say? The rose, the little wind, and you have gone so far away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Little White Hearse by James Whitcomb Riley. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. As the little white hearse went glittering by, the man on the coal cart jerked his lines, and smutted the lid of either eye, and turned and stared at the business signs. Then the streetcar driver stopped and beat his hands on his shoulders and gazed up the street, till his eye on the long track reached the sky, as the little white hearse went glimmering by. As the little white hearse went glimmering by, a stranger petted a ragged child in the crowded walks, and she knew not why, but he gave her a coin for the way she smiled, and a boot-black thrilled with a pleasure strange, as a customer put back his change, with a kindly hand and a grateful sigh, as the little white hearse went glimmering by. As the little white hearse went glimmering by, a man looked out of a window dim, and his cheeks were wet and his heart was dry, for a dead child even were dear to him. And he thought of his empty life and said, loveless alive and loveless dead, nor wife nor child in earth or sky, as the little white hearse went glimmering by. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Loom of Years by Alfred Noyes, read for LibriVox.org by William Jones, Bonita Springs, Florida. In the light of the silent stars that shine on the struggling sea, in the weary cry of the wind and the whisper of flower and tree, under the breath of laughter, deep in the tide of tears, I hear the loom of the weaver that weaves the web of years. The leaves of the winter wither and sink in the forest mold to color the flowers of April with purple and white and gold. Light and scent and music die and are born again in the heart of a gray-haired woman who wakes in a world of pain. The hound, the fawn, and the hawk, and the doves that croon and coo, we are all one woof of the weaving, and the one warp threads us through. One flying cloud of the shuttle that carries our hopes and fears as it goes through the loom of the weaver that weaves the web of years. The green uncrumpling fern and the rustling dew-drenched rose pass with our hearts to the silence where the wings of music close. Pass and pass to the timeless that never a moment mars. Pass and pass to the darkness that made the sun and stars. Has the soul gone out in the darkness? Is the dust sealed from sight? Ah, hush, for the woof of the ages returns through the warp of the night. Never that shuttle loses one thread of our hopes and fears as it comes through the loom of the weaver that weaves the web of years. Oh, woven in one wide loom through the throbbing weft of the wool, one in spirit and flesh, one in body and soul. Though the leaf were alone in its falling, the bird in its hour to die, the heart in its muffled anguish, the sea in its mournful cry, one with the flower of a day, one with the withered moon, one with the granite mountains that melt into the noon, one with the dream that triumphs beyond the light of the spheres. We come from the loom of the weaver that weaves the web of years. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Lost Chord by Adelaide Ann Proctor. Read for LibriVox.org by Dean Legiro. Seated one day at the organ, I was weary and ill at ease, and my fingers wandered idly over the noisy keys. I do not know what I was playing or what I was dreaming then, but I struck one chord of music like the sound of a great amen. It flooded the crimson twilight like the close of an angel's psalm, and it lay on my fevered spirit with a touch of infinite calm. It quieted pain and sorrow like love overcoming strife. It seemed the harmonious echo from our discordant life. It linked all perplexed meanings into one perfect piece, and trembled away into silence as if it were loath to cease. I have sought, but I seek it vainly, that one lost chord divine that came from the soul of the organ and entered into mine. It may be that death's bright angel will speak in that chord again. It may be that only in heaven I shall hear that grand amen. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Meeting by S. E. Kaiser. From The Wit and Humor of America, Volume 10. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothman. One day, in paradise, two angels, beaming, strolled along the amber walk that lies beside the street of gold. At last they met, and gazed into each other's eyes, then dropped their harps, amazed, and stood in mute surprise. And other angels came, and as they lingered near, heard both at once exclaim, "Say, how did you get here?" End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Moon Sheep by Christopher Morley. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. The moon seems like a docile sheep. She pastures while all people sleep. But sometimes when she goes astray, she wanders all alone by day. Up in the clear blue morning air, we are surprised to see her there, grazing in her woolly white, waiting the return of night. When dusk lets down the meadow bars, she greets again her lambs, the stars. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
November by Helen Hunt Jackson. Read for LibriVox.org by Paula Messina. This is the treacherous month when autumn days with summer's voice come bearing summer's gifts. Beguiled, the pale downtrodden aster lifts her head and blooms again. The soft, warm haze makes moist once more the sere and dusty ways. And creeping through where dead leaves lie in drifts, the violet returns. Snow noiseless sifts ere night an icy shroud, which morning's rays will idly shine upon and slowly melt. Too late to bid the violet live again. The treachery it lost too late is plain. Bare are the places where the sweet flowers dwelt. What joy sufficient hath November felt? What profit from the violet's day of pain? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
October by John Payne. Read for LibriVox.org by Dean Legiro. October, May of the descending days, mid-spring of autumn on the shortening stair of the year's eld abiding still and fair. A pause of peace when all the world at gaze, 'neath the mild mirage of thy sun-filled haze. Chewing the cud of summer sweets that were, lingers, unmindful of the winter's care. Yet, in thy russet woods and leaf-strewn ways, sweet was the summer, yet sweeter the spring. But in these mist-attempered noons of thine, hung with the clustering jewels of the vine, and in thy ruddocks clear, contented lay, a charm of solace is, that in no thing to summer suns may yield, or blossoms gay. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
October by Sally Williams Hardcastle. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. O days of the lovely October, how dear thou art to me! Words are weak when my soul would speak in language taught by thee. Not alone do thy glorious sunsets, nor thy trees of 1,000 dyes, but all touch my heart with thy sweet spell, O earth and air and skies. In the gardens that shone with beauty the flowers have faded, I know, and here by my favorite pathway the roses no longer may blow. But the leaves are burning with splendor, and I'll weave them in garlands bright, as I did in the sweet days of childhood, when my heart was aglow with delight. I've ruby and sapphire blended with gold, and here's an emerald green, a parting gift for my coronet from summer's dying queen. O loveliest month of the year, too soon will thy glories depart, but not the sweet faith thou'st wakened within this worshipping heart. For though like all beauty of earth thou'rt trammelled by earthly decay, yet my soul is lifted by thine to glories that fade not away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
October by Helen Hunt Jackson. Read for LibriVox.org by Paula Messina. The month of carnival of all the year, when nature lets the wild earth go its way and spend whole seasons on a single day. The springtime holds her white and purple dear. October, lavish, flaunts them far and near. The summer charily her reds doth lay like jewels on her costliest array. October, scornful, burns them on a bier. The winter hoards his pearls of frost in sign of kingdom. Whiter pearls than winter knew or empress wore in Egypt's ancient line. October, feasting neath her dome of blue, drinks at a single draught, slow filtered through sunshiny air, as in a tingling wine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Old October by Thomas Constable. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Scher. Hail, old October, bright and chill, first freedom from the summer's sun. Spice high the bowl, and drink your fill. Thank heaven, at last the summer's done. Come, friend, my fire's burning bright. A fire's no longer out of place. How clear it grows. There's frost tonight. It looks white winter in the face. You've been to Richard. Ah, you've seen a noble play. I'm glad you went. But what on earth does Shakespeare mean by winter of our discontent? Be mine, the tree that feeds the fire. Be mine, the sun that knows when to set. Be mine, the months when friends desire to turn in here from cold and wet. The century sun that glowed so long o'erhead deserts his summer post. Aye, you may brew it hot and strong. The joys of winter. Come, a toast. Shine on the kangaroo, thou sun. Make for New Zealand faint with fear. Don't hurry back to spoil our fun. Thank goodness, old October's here. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On a Sunbeam by Thomas Hayrick. Read for LibriVox.org by Caveat. Thou beauteous offspring of a sire as fair, with thy kind influence thou dost all things heat. Thou gildest the heaven, the sea, the earth and air, and under massy rocks dost gold beget. Thou opaque dull earth thou dost make fine, thou dost the moon and the planets shine. And if astronomy say true, our earth to them doth seem a planet too. How unaccountable thy journeys prove, thy swift course through the universe dost fly, from lofty heights in distant heavens above, to all that at the lowly centre lie. Thy parent sun once in a day through heaven doth steer his well-beat way. Thou of a swifter, subtler breed, dost every moment his day's course exceed. Thy common presence makes thee little prized, which if we once had lost, we'd dearly buy. How would the blind hug, what by us despised, how welcome wouldst thou in a dungeon be, thrice wretched those in mines are bred, that from thy sight are buried, when all the stores which they try, neither is use nor beauty equal thee. Could there be found an art to fix thee down, and of condensed rays a gem to make, 'twould be the brightest lustre of a crown, and an esteem invaluable take. New wars would the tired world molest, and new ambition fire men's breast, more battles fought for it than e'er before for love, empire, or treasure were. Thou art quickly born, and dost quickly die. Pity so fair a birth to fate should fall. Now here and now in abject dust dost lie, one moment twixt thy birth and funeral. Art thou like angels only shown, then to our grief for ever flown? Tell me, Apollo, tell me where the sunbeams go when they do disappear. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Power of the Dog by Rudyard Kipling. Read for LibriVox.org by Dean Legiro. There is sorrow enough in the natural way for men and women to fill our day. And when we are certain of sorrow in store, why do we always range for more? Brothers and sisters, I bid you beware of giving your heart to a dog to tear. Buy a pup and your money will buy love unflinching that cannot lie, perfect passion and worship fed by a kick in the ribs or a pat on the head. Nevertheless, it is hardly fair to risk your heart for a dog to tear. When the 14 years which nature permits are closing in asthma or tumor or fits, and the vet's unspoken prescription runs to lethal chambers or loaded guns, then you will find it's your own affair. But you've given your heart for a dog to tear. When the body that lived at your single will, with its whimper of welcome is stilled, how still? When the spirit that answered your every mood is gone, wherever it goes for good, you will discover how much you care, and will give your heart for the dog to tear. We've sorrow enough in the natural way when it comes to burying Christian clay. Our loves are not given, but only lent, at compound interest of cent per cent. Though it is not always the case, I believe, that the longer we've kept them, the more do we grieve. For when debts are payable right or wrong, a short-time loan is as bad as long. So why in heaven, before we are there, should we give our hearts to a dog to tear? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rainy Song by Max Eastman. Read for LibriVox.org by Lore. Down the dripping pathway, dancing through the rain, brown eyes of beauty laugh to me again. Eyes full of starlight, moist over fire, full of young wonder, touch my desire. Oh, like a brown bird, like a bird's flight, run through the raindrops, lithely and light. Body like a gypsy, like a wild queen, slim brown dress to slip through the green. The little leaves hold you, as soft as a child. The little path loves you, the path that runs wild. Who would not love you, seeing you move, warm-eyed and beautiful, through the green grove? Let the rain kiss you, trickle through your hair. Laugh if my fingers mingle with it there. Laugh if my cheek too is misty and drips. Wetness is tender, laugh on my lips. The happy sweet laughter of love without pain. Young love, the strong love, burning in the rain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Aaron Sproul. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch," I cried, "thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend," I shrieked upstarting. "Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my soul unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
River Roads by Carl Sandburg. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Let the crows go by, hawking their caw and caw. They have been swimming in midnights of coal mines somewhere. Let 'em hawk their caw and caw. Let the woodpecker drum and drum on a hickory stump. He has been swimming in red and blue pools somewhere hundreds of years, and the blue has gone to his wings, and the red has gone to his head. Let his red head drum and drum. Let the dark pools hold the birds in a looking-glass, and if the pool wishes, let it shiver to the blur of many wings, old swimmers from old places. Let the redwing streak a line of vermilion on the green wood lines, and the mist along the river fix its purple in lines of a woman's shawl on lazy shoulders. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Soldier by Rupert Brooke. Read for LibriVox.org by Jonathan Jones. If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is for ever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam. A body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home. And think this heart, all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind, no less give somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds, dreams happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends, and gentleness in hearts at peace, under an English heaven. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Songs from an Evil Wood by Lord Dunsany. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothman. 1. There is no wrath in the stars, they do not rage in the sky. I look from the evil wood, and find myself wondering why. Why do they not scream out, and grapple star against star, seeking for blood in the wood, as all things round me are? They do not glare like the sky, or flash like the deeps of the wood, but they shine softly on in their sacrificed solitude. To their happy haunts silence from us has flown, she who we loved of old, and know it now she is gone. When will she come again, though for 1 second only? She whom we loved is gone, and the whole world is lonely. And the elder giants come, sometimes tramping from far, through the weird and flickering light made by an earthly star. And the giant with his club, and the dwarf with rage in his breath, and the elder giants come far. They are the children of death. They are all abroad tonight, and breaking the hills with their brood, and the birds are all asleep, even in Plug Street Wood. 2. Somewhere, lost in the haze, the sun goes down in the cold, and birds in this evil wood chirrup home as of old. Chirrup, stir, and are still, on the high wings frozen and thin. There is no more noise of them now, and the long night sets in. Of all the wonderful things that I have seen in the wood, I marvel most at the birds, at their chirp and their quietude. For a giant smites with his club all day the tops of the hill. Sometimes he rests at night. Oftener he beats them still. And a dwarf with a grim black mane raps with repeated rage all night in the valley below, on the wooden walls of his cage. 3. I met with death in his country, with his scythe and his hollow eye, walking the roads of Belgium. I looked, and he passed me by. Since he passed me by in Plug Street, in the wood of the evil name, I shall not now lie with the heroes. I shall not share their fame. I shall never be as they are, a name in the land of the free, since I looked on death in Flanders, and he did not look at me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Thy Will Be Done by John Greenleaf Whittier. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. We see not, know not, all our way is night. With thee alone is day. From out the torrent's troubled drift, above the storm our prayers we lift. Thy will be done. The flesh may fail, the heart may faint, but who are we to make complaint, or dare to plead in times like these the weakness of our love of ease? Thy will be done. We take with solemn thankfulness our burden up, nor ask it less, and count it joy that even we may suffer, serve, or wait for thee, whose will be done. Though dim as yet in tint and line, we trace thy picture's wise design, and thank thee that our age supplies its stark relief of sacrifice. Thy will be done. And if in our unworthiness thy sacrificial wine we press, if from thy ordeal's heated bars our feet are seamed with crimson scars, thy will be done. If for the age to come this hour of trial hath vicarious power, and blessed by thee our present pain be liberty's eternal gain, thy will be done. Strike, thou the master, we thy keys, the anthem of the destinies, the minor of thy loftier strain. Our heart shall breathe the old refrain, thy will be done. 1861. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Be or Not to Be, from Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Mark Leader. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub, for in that sleep of death what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time? the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin. Who would these fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life? But that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied all with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment, with this regard their currents, turn awry, and lose the name of action. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tommy by Rudyard Kipling. Read for LibriVox.org by Jake Warrad. I went into a public house to get a pint of beer. The publican he up and says, "We serve no redcoats here." The girls behind the bar, they laughed and giggled fit to die. I outs into the streets again, and to myself says I, "Oh, it's Tommy this, and Tommy that, and Tommy, go away. But it's thank you, Mr. Atkins, when the band begins to play." The band begins to play, my boys, the band begins to play. Oh, it's thank you, Mr. Atkins, when the band begins to play. I went into a theatre, as sober as could be. They gave a drunk civilian room, but hadn't none for me. They sent me to the gallery or round the music halls, but when it comes to fighting, Lord, they'll shove me in the stalls. For it's Tommy this, and Tommy that, and Tommy, wait outside. But it's special train for Atkins when the trooper's on the tide. The troop ship's on the tide, my boys, the troop ship's on the tide. Oh, it's special train for Atkins when the trooper's on the tide. Yes, making mocker uniforms that guard you while you sleep is cheaper than them uniforms, and they're starvation cheap. And hustling drunken soldiers when they're going large a bit is 5 times better business than parading in full kit. Then it's Tommy this, and Tommy that, and Tommy, how's your soul? But it's thin red line of heroes when the drums begin to roll. The drums begin to roll, my boys, the drums begin to roll. Oh, it's thin red line of heroes when the drums begin to roll. We ain't no thin red heroes, nor we ain't no blackguards too, but single men in barracks, most remarkable, like you. And if sometimes our conduct isn't all your fancy paints, why single men in barracks don't grow into plaster saints. While it's Tommy this, and Tommy that, and Tommy fall behind, but it's please to walk in front, sir, when there's trouble in the wind. There's trouble in the wind, my boys, there's trouble in the wind. Oh, it's please to walk in front, sir, when there's trouble in the wind. You talk of better food for us, and schools and fires and all. We'll wait for extra rations when you treat us rational. Don't mess about the cookroom slops, but prove it to our face. The widow's uniform is not the soldier man's disgrace. For it's Tommy this, and Tommy that, and chuck him out, the brute. But it's saviour of his country when the guns begin to shoot. Yes, he's Tommy this, and Tommy that, and anything you please. But Tommy ain't a bloomin' fool. You bet that Tommy sees. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Macbeth's Soliloquy. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. From Macbeth by Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Mark Leader. tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Poet 1,000 Years Hence by James Elroy Flicker. Read for LibriVox.org by Lore. I, who am dead 1,000 years, and wrote this sweet archaic song, send you my words for messengers, the way I shall not pass along. I care not if you bridge the seas, or ride secure in the cruel sky, or build consummate palaces of metal or of masonry. But have you wine and music still, and statues and a bright-eyed love, and foolish thoughts of good and ill, and prayers to them who sit above? How shall we conquer? Like a wind that falls at eve our fancies blow, and old Maenides the blind said it 3,000 years ago. O friend unseen, unborn, unknown, student of our sweet English tongue, read out my words at night alone. I was a poet, I was young. Since I can never see your face, and never shake you by the hand, I send my soul through time and space to greet you. You will understand. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Tiger by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org by Jefferson Azevedo. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burned the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder, and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp there its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears, and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he, who made the lamb, make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Vampire, Strigoi, from the Romanian of Vasil Alexandri, translated by William Beatty Kingston, from the English Illustrated Magazine, December 1886. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Near the cliff's sharp edge, on high, standing out against the sky, dost thou see a ruined cross, weather-stained, o'ergrown by moss, gloomy, desolate, forsaken, by unnumbered tempests shaken? Not a blade of grass grows nigh it, not a peasant lingers by it. E'en the sombre bird of night shuns it in her darksome flight, startled by the piteous groan that arises from the stone. All around, on starless nights, myriad hosts of livid lights flicker fretfully revealing at its foot a phantom, kneeling whilst it jabbers dismal plaints, cursing God and all the saints. Toddy traveller, beware of that spectre gibbering there. Close your eyes, and urge your steed to the utmost of his speed, for beneath that cross, I ween, lies a vampire's corpse obscene. Though the night is black and cold, love's fond story, often told, floats in whispers through the air. Stalwart youth and maiden fair seal sweet vows of ardent passion with their lips in lovers' fashion. Restless, pale, a shape I see, hovering nigh. What may it be? 'Tis a charger, white as snow, pacing slowly to and fro, like a sentry. As he turns, haughtily the sword he spurns. Leave me not, beloved, tonight. Stay with me till morning's light. Weeping, thus besought the maid. Love, my soul is sore afraid. Brave not the dread vampire's power, mightiest at this mystic hour. Not a word he spake, but pressed the sobbing maiden to his breast, kissed her lips and cheeks and eyes, heedless of her tears and sighs, waved his hand with gesture gay, mounted, smiled, and rode away. Who rides across the dusky plain, tearing along with might and main, like some wild storm fiend, in his flight nursed on the ebony breast of night? 'Tis he, who left her in her need, her lover, on his milk-white steed. The blast in all its savage force strives to o'erthrow the gallant horse that snorts defiance to his foe, and struggles onward. See, below the causeway, 'long the river's side, 1,000 fluttering flamelets glide. Now they approach, and now recede, still followed by the panting steed. He nears the ruined cross. A crash, a piteous cry, a heavy splash, and in the rocky river bed, rider and horse lie crushed and dead. Then from those dismal depths arise blaspheming yells and strident cries, re-echoing through the murky air, and, like a serpent from its lair, brandishing high a blood-stained glaive, the vampire rises from his grave. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Village Blacksmith by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Jonathan Jones. Under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and sinewy hands, and the muscles of his brawny arms are strong as iron bands. His hair is crisp and black and long, his face is like the tan, his brow is wet with honest sweat, he earns whate'er he can, and looks the whole world in the face, for he owes not any man. Week in, week out, from morn till night you can hear his bellows blow, you can hear him swing his heavy sledge with measured beat and slow, like a sexton ringing the village bell when the evening sun is low. Children coming home from school look in at the open door. They love to see the flaming forge and hear the bellows roar, and catch the burning sparks that fly like chaff from a threshing floor. He goes on Sunday to the church, and sits among his boys. He hears the parson pray and preach. He hears his daughter's voice, singing in the village choir, and it makes his heart rejoice. It sounds to him like her mother's voice, singing in paradise. He needs must think of her once more, how in the grave she lies. And with his hard, rough hand he wipes a tear out of his eyes. Toiling, rejoicing, sorrowing, onward through life he goes. Each morning sees some task begin, each evening sees it close. Something attempted, something done, has earned a night's repose. Thanks to thee, my worthy friend, for the lesson thou hast taught. Thus, at the flaming forge of life, our fortunes must be wrought. Thus, on its sounding anvil shaped, each burning deed and thought. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Wanderer's Song by John Masefield. Read for LibriVox.org by Jake Warrad. A wind's in the heart of me, a fire's in my heels. I am tired of brick and stone and rumbling wagon wheels. I hunger for the sea's edge, the limit of the land, where the wild old Atlantic is shouting on the sand. Oh, I'll be going, leaving the noises of the street, to where a lifting foresail foot is yanking at the sheet. To a windy tossed anchorage where yawls and ketches ride. Oh, I'll be going, until I meet the tide. And first I'll hear the sea wind, the mewing of the gulls, the clucking, sucking of the sea about the rusty hulls, the songs at the capstan at the hooker warping out, and then the heart of me'll know I'm there, or thereabout. Oh, I am sick of brick and stone, the heart of me is sick, for windy, green, unquiet seas, the realm of Moby Dick. And I'll be going, from the roaring of the wheels, for a wind's in the heart of me, a fire's in my heels. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Welsh Marches by A. E. Houseman, read for LibriVox.org by Caveat. High the vanes of Shrewsbury gleam, islanded in Severn stream, the bridges from the steepled crest, across the water east and west. The flag of morn in conqueror's state enters at the English gate. The vanquished eve, as night prevails, bleeds upon the road to Wales. Ages since the vanquished bled, round my mother's marriage bed. There the ravens feasted far about the open house of war. When Severn down to Bulwerth ran, coloured with the death of man, couched upon her brother's grave, that Saxon got me on the slave. The sound of fight is silent long, that began the ancient wrong. Long the voice of tears is still, that wept of old the endless ill. In my heart it has not died. The war that sleeps on Severn's side, they cease not fighting east and west, on the marches of my breast. Here the truceless armies yet trample, rolled in blood and sweat. They kill and never die, and I think that each is I. None will part us, none undo the knot that makes one flesh of two. Sick with hatred, sick with pain, strangling, when shall we be slain? When shall I be dead and rid of the wrong my father did? How long, till spade and hearse puts to sleep my mother's curse? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Winter Evening by Alexander Pushkin. Translated by Martha Dickenson Bianchi. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Sable clouds by tempest driven, snowflakes whirling in the gales. Hark! It sounds like grim wolves howling. Hark! Now like a child it wails. Creeping through the rustling straw thatch, rattling on the mortared walls, like some weary wanderer knocking on the lowly pane it falls. Fearsome darkness fills the kitchen, drear and lonely our retreat. Speak a word and break the silence, dearest little mother, sweet. Has the moaning of the tempest closed thine eyelids wearily? Has the spinning wheel's soft whirring hummed a cradle song to thee? Sweetheart of my youthful springtime, thou true-souled companion dear, let us drink, away with sadness. Wine will fill our hearts with cheer. Sing the song how free and careless birds live in a distant land. Sing the song of maids at morning, meeting by the brook's clear strand. Sable clouds by tempest driven, snowflakes whirling in the gales. Hark! It sounds like grim wolves howling. Hark! Now like a child it wails. Sweetheart of my youthful springtime, thou true-souled companion dear, let us drink, away with sadness. Wine will fill our hearts with cheer. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Word for the Hour by John Greenleaf Whittier. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The firmament breaks up. In black eclipse, light after light goes out. One evil star luridly glaring through the smoke of war, as in the dream of the apocalypse, drags others down. Let us not weakly weep, nor rashly threaten. Give us grace to keep our faith and patience. Wherefore should we leap on one hand into fratricidal fight, or on the other yield eternal right? Frame lies of law, and good and ill confound. What fear we? Safe on freedom's vantage ground our feet are planted. Let us there remain in unrevengeful calm, no means untried which truth can sanction, no just claim denied, the sad spectators of a suicide. They break the links of union. Shall we light the fires of hell to weld anew the chain on that red anvil where each blow is pain? Draw we not even now a freer breath, as from our shoulders falls a load of death, loathsome as that the Tuscan's victim bore, when keen with life to a dead horror bound? Why take we up the accursed thing again? Pity, forgive, but urge them back no more, who, drunk with passion, flaunt disunion's rag with its vile reptile blazon. Let us press the golden cluster on our brave old flag in closer union, and, if numbering less, brighter shall shine the stars which still remain. 16th, first month, 1861. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.